Welcome to episode 56 of Enter the Mind podcast, the most real talk, no nonsense podcast on the empowering of the mind. Today, we're going to be talking about overcoming small thinking. Before we get to that, Kyra, how's it going this week?
Going really well. I am staying at my friend's house alone for a week. Whew. I'm lit up in here. So how's it going on your end?
Yeah, it looks like a nice house. And yeah. And I know your video is lagging a bit, but hopefully it will maintain so that we can keep us both on
Sorry,
video
guys.
the whole time.
Thanks for being patient.
And my week is good. I'm coming off of a motivational seminar, and that's actually going to be the topic for today. So why don't I, without further ado, segue into that topic. So this is nothing huge. This was a small group seminar, a few guys and one of my personal coaches. And but this guy was a crew member and trained under Tony Robbins for many years, did over 50 seminars with Tony Robbins in his crew. And he lives at an intensity which is just totally above average. And because of the COVID shutdown, we really didn't have any of these motivational seminars for over a year. And so to be back this past weekend, I was up in San Francisco. I stayed at the Marriott right by Union Square. It was amazing time. And it really re-energized me. You realize that it's kind of like driving a car and you're driving at 30 miles an hour, and then you think that you're doing a lot. You think like, hey, look at all those people going 15, I'm going 30 miles an hour. And but then you go to a seminar and a coach shows you how you can actually go 45, or how you're contracting much more than you realize. An example would be like any time that when I say contracting versus expanding. So either you're expanding or you're contracting, and the contractions are so, excuse me, they're so subtle that they're hard to detect. So after this weekend, I was like, holy cow, my mental life has been a world record of contractions lately. And this is vocabulary that people don't really use every day. You never hear, hey, how's it going? Oh man, so many contractions lately, right? People don't talk like this. But
you're pregnant?
After all, exactly. Yeah, it makes you think of pregnancy. After all, though, this is Enter the Mind podcast. So this is where we go. What happened? You just had a thought?
Yes. It's so exciting. Like contractions, like your pregnancy, because when you're like fucking the world and you're getting a baby out of it, like you're having a baby, so you're getting these contractions because you have to push the baby out. So this is probably a very exciting news for you.
Well, I'm not pregnant.
Well, your baby, meaning like your baby goal, is coming out into the world. Like you're about to give birth to your newest reality.
Yeah, I like that. That's super deep. Hell yeah.
Okay.
I get what you're saying. So it's really just, I don't know. Has that ever happened to you where you just, maybe you're in the right environment or supportive coach or something like that, and you realize, like, because to me that was a big takeaway this weekend. I was like, wow, I can't believe my mind was limiting myself so much. And here I was thinking I'm doing a lot, but it's just another illusion or delusion of the mind, because the mind tries to wrap back on itself. And I think the mind always puts up these protective layers, right? So we get comfortable and we're like, yeah, well, it's about the same amount I did yesterday and this and that. And I'll have more examples to share, but as we go. But has that ever happened to you where you just realized your mind was holding you back so much?
Yes. It's been happening so much lately, in fact. I've been getting these new perspectives, and like they're bringing me to new consciousness and like new joy and happiness and aliveness and presence in my life. And when I come to like the conclusion of like what I guess I was keeping from myself, like what was it, 2 weeks ago? What are you not trying to see? Wasn't that your power question? That was amazing, because I just feel like I've been not trying to see, I'm now trying to see everything that I'm not trying to see. And it's not like a mean, like when I find out like, oh, I was doing it wrong. It's not like a mean, like I was doing it wrong. It's more like oh, well, I ain't even mad, because I'm here. I'm here now, and I got away from those limitations. So yeah, definitely my mind, all our minds can be very limited. And then when we open them up, we just have to, I feel like it's not even like an urge to try to not beat yourself up, because it's like, I feel like when you really want something and you're so happy to finally get it, there is no like, oh, why didn't I get it before? It's, I fucking got it. Like, I got it. You're so focused on that amazing thing. So yes.
Totally. And I think a big, one of these examples is like small thinking and an overly large focus on small things. And a perfect example before I went to the seminar was, here in my apartment, I was just getting so irritated by like noisy neighbor dogs. Like my neighbors have a lot of dogs, and they're always barking, and that was like getting to me. And then little things like there's this one thing in my bathroom that was like needed to be fixed, right? And I didn't know how to fix it. I went out and bought some like cleaning chemicals and tried to clean it. And then because I was using like steel brush on porcelain, which apparently you shouldn't do because it scratches the porcelain. So I like messed up the thing I was trying to clean, and I got so frustrated because now I got to pay for this thing to replace it. And I was just trying to clean it. I shouldn't even have to clean it. Like, it should have been clean when I moved in. So I was so like, that is a huge energy suck, right? Let's get back to talking about energy, which was like the main point from a lot of our episodes recently, is watching those energy leaks. I had so many energy leaks, it was like my own mind's plumbing system was totally broken. It was leaking everywhere. Every little small thing, the dog barking in the neighbor's apartment, the thing in my bathroom that had to be fixed. Like every little thing that was going wrong was grabbing all of my energy, all of my attention. A great book that I just finished, I'll recommend, is called The Power of Full Engagement. And just finished that one. This is what it looks like. Power of Full Engagement. And it's an older one, I think. When is that from? It might be over 10 years old, but the point in that book is that CEOs and executives think they need to manage their time when what they need to manage is their energy. And they need to manage their energy just the same way that athletes do. Professional athletes realize after a match, after a competition, they need to recharge and they need to fuel themselves. They need to eat well. It's all about energy. But executives, they have a donut and coffee. They go into the office. They're all upset. They're saying, our revenue is down again. And they're throwing these emotional fits. They don't realize that an emotional contraction on their part is going to steal all of the opportunities for them to use their energy to advance the company. You see what I mean?
Yes.
So by me getting upset about all those little things, right? Whatever they were, that's like the worst thing that can happen to your mind. Well, one of the worst things. So, I mean, how I'm doing now is like all these little things come up and it's just like, I barely even pay attention to them. I'm so focused on the high payoff activities. I'm so focused on whether it's expanding my business or working on my social life or anything where it's just, I became smart, right? And I realized I was dawdling, I was dilly-daddling, like just, I was not using my mind to its fullest potential.
I totally get all of that. And I really like what you said about like managing your energy, because I feel like energy has been flung into my world a lot lately. And I feel like I've been feeling like my inner soul a lot. Like I've been really feeling like my inner soul. And when I think of my soul, I think of my spirit. And when I think of my spirit, I think of my energy. And when I think about the energy, I think about like my energy around me. And it's when you think of yourself, like obviously I'm a human, but like when you kind of pay attention to the energy that like this human is giving off, you kind of can have like a little lineup of where your energy wants to go, instead of focusing like in your mind or like, I guess like your body too much. Like when you take a little shift into the energy really quick, you can kind of see where your energy wants to be placed throughout the day, so you can have optimal energy, so that energy can keep being recycled, and you can just have more energy throughout the day. So I definitely like the thing about the energy, as well as I just saw a beautiful butterfly, about the paying attention like to small things. I feel like there comes like such a healthy balance in life where like it's nice to pay attention to the small things sometimes, and then it's nice to pay attention to the big things sometimes, and like you have to have like your little flow. But sometimes when like you're really like on edge, like you really need to have like, you need to get this energy off, and you technically don't really have the time to go hike up to a mountain and scream at the top of your lungs, or maybe you don't have a punching bag nearby. When these little things build up, they build the fuck up, and the little things become the big things, because now they're all that can take over your mind, because you haven't been releasing them in a healthy way, whether it's writing it down, whether it's sitting grumpy for a few minutes, whether it's going and doing some exercise, doing whatever you need to do to make sure that those small things are flowing in your life. And it's a really good that you brought this up, because it's an interesting, and I don't think it's something that I entirely focus on. Do any of our listeners focus on any of that? Because it's exciting to me.
I was just going to ask something like that and bring it back to the listeners. So we're, again, always on the same wavelength there. But you're right. I mean, because watching your energy is something that everybody can do. And so what would that look like? I liked the way that you described it just now. I'm not sure how, I think you said watching your energy like lines shooting out from you. Is that
I imagined like for me, like it would maybe be yoga, taking a swim, maybe taking a ride in the golf cart down to the beach to watch the sunset, maybe listening to some music. And I saw all of those in front of me, and I saw that that's like where my optimal energy would have gone for me to be optimal. I really like that word.
Yeah. And I know that we go heavy on the metaphors in this episode.
heavy.
We have to make sure we balance it with concrete examples. But here's another metaphor. It's just so good. I can't spare it. But it's like watching, it's like watering the grass or watering your plants with, in your backyard with you got your garden hose, you got the, what is it called? The spray, the spigot, whatever it's called. And you can water the weeds, or you can water the plants and the roses that you want to grow. And that to me is the perfect metaphor of mental energy, because all the time we allow our mental energy to go out towards the things that the things that are small, the things that have no return on investment, the things that will not grow. And that's like watering the weeds. That's like wasting all your water on these, or even worse, you water the sidewalk. It's like nothing's going to happen if you water the sidewalk. But we have to come back to these principles of our mental energy is limited. That was a big takeaway from the Power of Full Engagement book. Our mental energy is limited, right? So whatever we choose to invest that energy into, that is extremely crucial that we put the energy into something that's going to grow, to really kind of watch our energy flow, just like we watch what we're watering. To me, that's really the opportunity to clean up our minds, or one of the opportunities. So from the listener's perspective, it's about what have been the objects of your consciousness. And when I say objects of consciousness, I just mean the things that you're paying attention to. Like what things have you been paying attention to? Realizing that your attention is limited. And so whatever you're paying attention to, that's another thing that you could be paying attention to that you're not paying attention to, because you get the idea, right?
Yes, I do. I definitely like the takeaway of our mental energy being limited, because I feel like when you think about it in like a form of like your mental energy, like it's limited. Like we have a limited mental energy, and why don't we just go out and do something with it? And I feel like a lot of people's excuse for maybe not doing more things that give them life and joy is doing it alone. And I feel like doing things alone is something that I have been doing my whole entire life. I love being alone. It's great, but I also love going out with people. It's so much fun. But like if I have to go out alone, like I'll do it. And I feel like most people who I guess are kind of stuck in that that mindset of letting all of their mental energy go to things that they don't really like, they're not opening themselves up to a new way, because that's, I guess, just not something that they want. They don't want to do that because they don't have the mental energy to do it, because their objects of consciousness are focused on something that is depleting all their mental energy. But I feel like definitely that's one of the reasons why it's depleting their mental energy, because there's somebody who doesn't like to go out alone and they use that as an excuse, and then they just keep pushing on with it.
Totally. Speaking of people being alone, have you ever seen that comedy show, Mr. Bean from England?
I think I've seen the movie.
Yeah, it's a little old school. And then I think they had a movie more recently, but I guess it was some sort of comedy show from back in the day in England of this guy who is just always like keeps to himself, but it's just goes on these. It's funny. It's like it films him just doing these. I mean, they're skits. It's not reality TV. It's these skits of him just doing these things around town, but he's so particular. Like it'll show him at a hotel or something, and and then he's a funny character. So he'll get into his hotel, and then he'll sit down, and then he'll like feel the chair out, and he'll be like, and he'll be like, as if he's thinking, I'm the king in the castle, like, I'm Mr. Fancy. And then he's like, and then he'll make a face as if like something about the chair is uncomfortable. And he'll be like, it's like, it's done without speaking. There's no words. It's like a Charlie Chaplin thing.
I love that.
So then he'll like get up, he'll like look at the chair, and then he'll be like, right. And then maybe the chair is like uneven or something. So then he'll take this napkin and like rip up the napkin and fold it into this little tiny square. And then like a really tiny square, like almost nothing. And then he'll like stick that underneath, sit on it. And then he'll be like, right. Like as if like he had to level himself out. And the whole episode, every episode is him just like doing these little micro adjustments, making his environment just right for him. And it's funny, just, I don't know, because you realize how silly it is and just how focused he is on these little tiny inconsequential parts of his reality. However, I think that's a great example of sort of like, we cannot allow ourselves to become a Mr. Bean. And the reason is when we focus so much on those little things of like, well, let me put my pen just right, or let me hold my pen just right, like this, or do I want to hold it like this? Like, dude, just grab the pen, sign whatever you need to sign, and move on. You will never have any CEO do behavior like that, like, oh, I've been watching Masterclass, as you know, and I've finished those acting classes, but now I'm watching these master classes taught by the CEO of Starbucks, Howard Schultz, or I think former CEO, and the former CEO of Disney, Bob Iger. And man, these dudes are like, they are cool dudes. Like, first, emotionally, that's what stands out above everything. Their emotional calmness, right? First and foremost. And then it's like, they're just sharp. Like they would not sit around the office, like arranging papers for an entire day or something like that. They know better than to pay attention to these small, inconsequential details. They're paying attention to more big picture things, high return on investment things, decisions that will impact the culture of the company. And it's like, wow, to me, that's awesome. That's like every single person is the CEO of their own life. And so they should be paying attention to the areas, any decisions, there's two buckets of decisions. There's decisions that matter and decisions that don't matter. And the problem is that everybody is being a bad CEO of their own life when their bucket of decisions that don't matter is like 90% of the decisions that they make in a day, compared to the bucket of decisions that do matter. The proper ratio should be, the bulk of their decisions that they make in a day should be decisions that matter, not decisions that don't matter. And so people think so much about, what am I going to eat for dinner? What television show am I going to watch? What color car do I want next? All of these things that's in the second bucket. Like, they could be paying attention to, hey, what's that new relationship I'm about to create, whether it's a friendship or a business relationship, that's really going to help me? Or like that, the great question in the one thing, which is another self-help book. What's the one thing I can do right now that if I did it would make everything else unnecessary or easier in relation to this one goal that I have? So I guess that's kind of like a power question, but you see what I'm saying about this, the CEO mindset and not paying attention to these small things. You can never be, Mr. Bean will never be a CEO, because he would get to his executive suite, he would sit in his office chair, and he would spend the first hour like trying to make sure that the chair is at the right height that he wants. And he'd be pulling on that lever, going up and down, and like waiting until the chair is at that perfect height. And then he'll be like, ooh, I like it now, right? That's what he does. That's his character, right? But he can never lead a company behaving like that. But we ourselves, we can never lead our lives either behaving like that. Otherwise, our lives are just going to stagnate or go downhill.
Completely agreed. And I feel like when you were speaking, a lot came up to me about perfectionism. And I'm wondering if the small, like the contractions in our mind, not the same as like the baby contractions of giving birth to a new reality, but more so perfectionism being wasting your mental energy on things that don't entirely serve you, which is perfectionism. And I feel like when you have a mental state of perfectionism, all of your energy, all of your mental energy, all of your energy goes into this one thing being so motherfucking perfect that you waste all of it away, and then it doesn't even come out as perfect as you wanted because you're a perfectionist and nothing is ever perfect. And even when you did your best absolute work that you could possibly do, it's still not perfect. Well, that's because it's not fucking perfect. And you know what would make it perfect? If you just stopped putting so much energy on it, trusted yourself, threw it together like a fucking sandwich, and been like, boom, bam, shazam, abracadabra, I am amazing. So I think that's what I related it to, was the perfectionism and the small mind.
I'm really glad you brought that up, and because it's so true. Like it is an outgrowth of perfectionism, or a manifestation of perfectionism. And yeah, I certainly have perfectionistic tendencies sometimes. So that's something that I have to watch out for. But for the listeners out there, whether you're perfectionist, well, if you're perfectionist, then yeah, this lesson would be very, very vital for you, I think. And if you're not, then just flip it around and realize that a CEO would also not be too unperfectionist, right? A CEO would not be sloppy. A CEO would not be like, forget about, ignore revenue for 3 months and be like, ignore profit and loss for 3 months. Be like, oh, there's other things to pay attention to. Like, no, that would not happen either.
Like, what color the grass will be today.
So for me, the power question of the day would be, like, if you're the CEO of your own life, what decisions are the high payoff decisions, and what decisions have you been making that are low payoff? Low payoff meaning these really small things that don't really matter, but you use so much of your energy, your limited energy, trying to decide, oh, do I want red or blue? Or like, it doesn't really matter. So that's my power question. What about you, Kyra?
I think that's the most brilliant power question ever. And I already know my topic for next week. I'll give you guys a little sneak peek because I'm too excited to not talk about it. But I love talking about payoffs and like what you do. So it's like the highest payoff, like you're getting paid, baby. Like you may not be getting the Cassius moolah right now, but you're getting paid. So remember that you're getting paid for what you are doing. Like, just remember that. So I love that. What is your energy going towards the high payoff and the low payoff? Because I think that that's going to get our listeners really pumping up. Let's see. I think that my power question of the day would be, you know what? I'll leave it at that one because I like it. And there's not necessarily any question that I have that is completely impactful at the moment.
Cool. Any final thoughts? I think from my end, I don't know. I feel like we kind of summarized already the main points. Any final thoughts though for you?
Yeah. I'd like to tie in that if you haven't noticed, or if you have noticed in our episodes, we usually like to tie in one specific subject to other subjects that can link along with it. So you can have a clearer picture of what goes with what. So you can have a clearer picture of how to find the solution, which we talk about as well. But I wanted to mention that, okay, so now we know that your mental energy going to the smallest things in the world and things that don't entirely matter and your doesn't entirely matter, not completely entirely important at this very moment bucket, can be also related to perfectionism. And when you're spending all of your time and your energy, your mental energy, trying to make this one thing perfect, when it's not going to be perfect, because perfect doesn't exist. And what perfect is imperfection. And that's why we say, oh my God, this is perfect. Like, this is just perfect right now. I have all of my basic needs. I can keep things in general, and it's just perfect. And it's perfect because you're not so focused on it being perfect. It's perfect just as it is, with the way that you're feeling and what you manifested. It's just perfect. And so the mental energy can be related to perfectionism. So keep that in mind.
Totally. So I think we've done it for episode 56. If this was helpful for you, then write a comment or, send us a like and subscribe, share it with your friends. And we'll be back next week with episode 57. Thank you all for watching.